So, in sum, the proposition we propose as a provocation is that Manchester adopts this sort of model of becoming not just the world's first industrial city, but the world's first experimental city. And we pose in the proposition, which is available on the FutureEverything blog, a number of questions for city managers and leaders that they could ask about their own practice in terms of to what extent are they able to experiment, to try out new things, and to what extent can they optimize the latent creativity within different communities across the city.
Hi, my name's Hal Bernstein. I'm absolutely delighted to be contributing to the city debate on future everything. Manchester, like other cities, must actually compete effectively in a global marketplace, and what we've seen over the last 20, 30 years are real changes which have taken place in the city's economy. We're much more diversified, we're much stronger than we were 20, 30 years ago, and indeed over the next 20, 30 years, big challenges facing all cities, including Manchester, is how we actually create a low-carbon economy, how we actually focus on key growth sectors, and how we place culture and media and creative activities at the heart of all of our efforts.
I'd like to take us even further away for now from where we were and actually start to look at the world, because the world is speeding up. And we're at a point of inflection now where in the next 100 years, technology will move on by 25,000 years. And that's going to have a massive impact for every city on Earth. And if Manchester wants to be there as one of the cities that people want to be in, and let me emphasise, it's people that make cities, it's not buildings. Buildings are there to house them, but it's people. And Manchester's had 150 years of people wanting to be in the city.
Manchester has established itself as a global player in the digital and creative industries, but we need to do a lot more. The best years are just about to start, they're still to come. And the fact that we're in this time of incredible change means experimentation will happen. Our industries, completely counterintuitively, are incredibly, I think, conservative with a small c, and they're kind of against experimentation because so many of them have to struggle so hard to survive.
I like the strapline of an experimental city because I think it denotes two things. One is the absence of any fear of failure, and one of the things I find about Manchester is that there is this instinctive willingness to take on risks and not to be scared about failure. It's more American than it is a UK phenomenon, I find. The second thing is that it speaks about innovation rather than imitation, and the idea of Manchester as being a place where we do things differently. I think we've got a way to go on that, but that surely is the point that Nick was making earlier on.
I suppose then the most intriguing question for me is that two people raised the issue that it's not about a city, but it is about a region. And it was Mike and it was Nick. And I basically want to know why.
We need to somehow start to restore, and this is about environmental responsibility, it's also about regional identity. We need to start to restore those links between regions and what the region offer. And that's where Manchester has a particularly vital role to play. I think that Manchester has the opportunity to cement this stirring digital vision about the future and the way in which we begin to operate, but also twist that and marry that with a profound satisfaction and enjoyment of independence, regionalism and localism.
I'm very enamoured with Richard Florida's talent, technology and tolerance. I think we've spun it a bit, and we talk about creativity, innovation and diversity, and to that I'd add green. So, for example, there's some really interesting negotiations with our green colleagues who want to put green roofs everywhere. And we go, rubbish. Green roofs that can't grow food, forget it. Every green roof should grow food. Every hanging garden on the side of a building should grow food. Urban agriculture, you saw the brilliant documentary by Julian Temple recently about Detroit. That's the slow bit of what we've got to achieve. Slow food, slow goods and services, but it's got to be done fast.
What will you do next week that's a little bit outside your own personal comfort zone?
Very briefly, for me, we're building a £37 million building in the second most deprived area in England, and with targets that at first glance look ridiculously unachievable. So at the moment, I would say I'm constantly outside my comfort zone. I'm looking forward to getting back in.
I just wanted to remind us that in the heyday of Manchester, when it grew from 70,000 to 300,000, there was no local government. It was called the biggest village in England. I know it was terrible, but it was wonderful. It was truly experimental. The ability to make money and to use a couple of inventions, spinning, weaving, and the steam engine, propelled the city forward. Trade and finance were essential, research, the role of the literary and philosophical society. The digital revolution makes it possible for us to have that high degree of connectivity again, but I think we need less government, less structure, less professionalism. And when you listen to Yehudi Menuhin playing the violin, he doesn't tell you what notes he's playing. You listen to the music.
Do we have anyone from local government here who would like to defend their position?
My name's Virginia Tandy. I'm Director of Culture for Manchester City Council. I have some sympathy with that desire for a freer arrangement, but I would like to think, in the spirit of everything that's been said about Howard Bernstein's remarks, that Manchester is an innovative city council.
My name's Dan and I work about 37 hours a week. We've heard from many people, many of the speakers, about a low carbon economy, about better equality, more equality in the economy, a care economy, and an economy of the arts. So it's a question to any of the speakers that want to take this. In Manchester in 2020, what's the level of employment? What's the average working week? What's the most common occupation? And how does that compare to the rest of the world?
There will be a world of freelancers by 2020. We won't be employed by people. We will actually be employed for the skills that we have. And some of the work we do we'll enjoy and we'll do for free. And some of the work we will do will be paid for. So very much like the world that maybe you know, Jenny, or other people in broadcasting, that's how most of the people will be working by 2020.
OK, well, thank you very much. To remind you, this is just the start. Please join me in thanking our very large, very knowledgeable, very influential panel for this wonderful debate. Thank you.